think he's going to be mega chalky, and so I think if you're making 2 or 3, I think you can probably stack against him. Probably not in 3, maybe in 5, but I don't see a lot of ways that he fails. It's certainly in the range of outcomes, but I'm not betting on that.
All right, let's. I like Corbin a lot here. I think that he's going to be locked in. You know me, I only play a couple of lineups, so he's definitely going to be at least 66% owned for me, if not 100%, depending on how the other players look. So you don't like Darvish. On the other side of that game, Jake Arrieta. Let's look at Jake.
So one of the things that you can look at though is not just those numbers, but you have the ground ball, line drive, and fly ball percentage. We don't really want to attack a lot of pitchers that are going to have a ground ball percentage over 50%. In fact, those are guys that you kind of are interested in seeing if they're going to be interesting targets. But, a guy like Arrieta, the problem has been for a while, it's just he doesn't strike out enough guys. He's a pitch-to-contact guy. He's trying to induce those ground balls. Mm-hmm. And so you really
I see he's walking almost 10% too.
Yeah, and look, he's lost some stuff on his pitches. At times he's gotten good whiffs, and at times he's been able to induce no whiffs. So it's, he's a puzzle in that sense. I'm not interested in him. He's usually overpriced. I'm not necessarily interested in stacking against him at all times because, again, the guy does induce 52% ground balls on the year.
Mm-hmm. Overpriced is not the issue today. He's only 7,800 on the slate.
Yeah, okay. Well, that makes it more interesting, but there are other guys around that price point that I'm
Oh, yeah, 8,000. You got J.A. Happ going against Baltimore.
Okay, so you want to be careful with that, though. This is like the 3rd or 4th time that J.A. Happ is going against Baltimore this year. And as we've seen in Jacob deGrom's most recent start against Miami, that sometimes does not spell, success for a pitcher when they've been seen so many times by that same lineup. So yeah, there's J.A. Happ, but I think you can bump up. I think Luke Weaver's only like 8K.
Yeah.
So, I'm interested in him. The other pitchers that I'm interested in beyond Corbin are going to be Luke Weaver for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about. The ward on Luke Weaver is that he does give up a fair amount of hard contact and not so much soft, but he's been able to kind of avoid any type of danger there by having a larger ground ball percentage than some pitchers. What
do you think about Luke Weaver just because of the fact that, one, he's going against Chris Paddack at home. So Paddack at home is probably going to draw a good amount of ownership percentage. Does that lower Luke Weaver well below what he should be given the stats and the matchup should be?
It could, but we do take in park factor here for Luke Weaver is that he's going to be playing in San Diego. So, that's a pitcher-friendly park. His strikeout or his K percentage is 24 and 28, and this Padres lineup right now is pretty bad. I mean, the call there, but the Padres strikeout percentage is 22, 25, 21, 21, 32, 25, 38, and 30. There's going to be a lot of strikeouts, basically.
Yeah, well, I think you've sold me on Luke Weaver here because, one of the things when I first got into playing this, and it was just for shits and giggles and fun, one of the things I used to do is try to predict wins because you get the extra points. And I think a lot of people still look at that, not necessarily the Sharks by any means, but people in the general pool might look at it and say, okay, Chris Paddack been a fantastic, outstanding pitcher. He's at home. Arizona isn't crazy great team. So I'm going to avoid Luke Weaver because I don't think he'll get the win. So I do think that lowers a little bit of ownership off of him. So I like it a lot. I like Luke Weaver and Patrick Corbin together, and I don't think that salary eliminates a lot of great plays for you.
No, I mean, I think you can go with Soraka too, just like for the reasons that we said. See something here.
What do you think about Odorizzi? He keeps kind of defying what we think of him. He keeps being an excellent pitcher when we keep not liking him.
Sometimes it just gets real simplistic when you're looking at pitchers. I like Odorizzi as a pitcher this year. I'm interested in playing him, just not in this matchup. There are certain matchups that are almost like an auto start for me. Right now, the Tigers are one of those. San Diego is one of those. where if you get a decent strikeout pitcher against some of these teams that are prone to strike out a lot, that it really doesn't matter what you think of the skill of the pitcher. If it's even moderate and the price is right, go for it. I mean, look, I know that you said you didn't play since last Wednesday, and I'm gonna let you know something. You probably would have gotten rich the other day. Not only did Frankie Montas take a game to the last out and then have to get pulled and have like 12 strikeouts against the Tigers, but on that same slate, Miles Mikolas gave up like 7 runs in the first inning.
Man, where was I? Why didn't you call me? Why didn't you tell me that my man Mikolas was in a lineup and that I could have gone all in against him? I hate when work gets me away from my millions of dollars in sports betting.
I think there was something else that was very on brand of you. I could see you putting together a Montas Texas stack with somebody else, and I can't remember who it was. For what it's worth, I was on Montas, and I was on Montas pretty heavily. So, I know you like him a lot more than I do, but I mean, this guy has made some improvements. But again, the Tigers suck, and they strike out a lot, and I
love betting against my team because here's the thing: is I'm going to root for them no matter what, right? And so if they win, hey, I got to watch a great game. It was fun. I like it when they win. If they lose, hey, I made some money. So it doesn't bother me at all to bet against the team that I love the most.
Well, guess who's pitching against the Tigers tomorrow? One Caleb Smith.
Ooh, I like it. Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Caleb Smith and then Turnbull on the other side against the Marlins. Some really, really interesting options tomorrow. I've kind of looked ahead. I like tomorrow a lot more than I like today.
Well, let's continue this because I have another pitcher question. You've really enjoyed Mike Minor this year. What are you thinking about Mike today?
Well, before I get to Mike Minor, Odorizzi, I do like him. I just don't like this matchup against the Angels. So you've got LaStella, who strikes out at 6%, Trout 13, Ohtani is one of the higher ones at 20, Goodwin at 25, but you also got Lucroy at 11, Fletcher at 8.6, John Wall, I don't actually know whether his name's John or not, but Walsh, their first baseman that's been playing instead of Pujols at times, 12%, Simmons at 7.5. There's just not strikeouts in this lineup. It doesn't mean that that the lineup is gonna flourish, but they're just not going to strike out. They're going to make contact. They're going to get on base, and you're not going to rack up the points for a guy like Odorizzi. So LA is typically my do not proceed. We're not going to play pitchers against LA just because you're not going to have the upside there. And when they are in Anaheim, LaStella, Ohtani, Calhoun, Goodwin, Walsh, all these left-handed bats do have that lower right field fence now, and I think that's a reason why a lot of the home runs are going out. If you look at a lot of LaStella's home runs at home, they're barely getting out. So they lowered that wall for Ohtani, and LaStella is the one that is benefiting from it. But okay, let's talk about Mike Minor. Mike Minor is interesting, and one of the reasons that I was touting him the last time he was pitching is because that bullpen was extremely taxed, and I thought he was going to go deep into the game. He didn't end up going deep into the game. I think I did end up playing a showdown lineup with Mike Minor as my captain. I think it cashed. I don't think it won because there are a couple things that
was that Tuesday night when we were talking while we were recording. I believe it was because I played the showdown that night and won second place for $75. Thank you.
Yeah. That was, and I think you played that was the San Diego Dodgers.
The San Diego game.
Yeah.
With Maeda. Yeah.
I went with Minor, and then I had like Guzman, and I had Calhoun, and I had Forsythe, and I basically had the perfect lineup to go with.
But you missed Odor's 2 home runs.
I did. I had Mondesi, and then we didn't get the save either. That was the thing. They went up by 5. They still sent out Chris Martin, and he pitched, and he got me some points, like 9 points, but he didn't get the save points. So that was kind of brutal. So there were a couple things that didn't work out so well for me there. Almost, really close. But against the Seattle team that's significantly regressed from their early season, mashing, which was something that, man, we all saw coming. They've dealt with some injuries too. I mean, they're to a point where they've brought Malik Smith back up because the rest of the guys just have not been as good. So I like him. It's at home. You have to look at the weather. Certainly, it's a game that could get out of control, but I like him. I think he's a decent option, but he's not something I'm crazy about. Let's see how many left.
I have a question for you when you're done with Mr. Smith.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right. Is it weird that I have a little bit of desire for Andrew Cashner against the Yankees today in Baltimore, 5,600 on DraftKings? All I need him to get is 10, 12, 13 points, and he pays off.
So I think the thing about taking pitchers against the Yankees is it's a winning situation in some cases, because a lot of people aren't going to take a pitcher against the Yankees because of this perceived power that they have. And they do. But the thing about the Yankees is that they will provide a good amount of strikeouts in that top half of the order. Hicks, Voit, Sanchez. But right now, like Morales, Torres, Urshela, Gardner, and Frazier at the bottom don't strike out quite as much. I don't have a problem going with Cashner because I think he's improved and been able to limit damage. And a lot of people think of him as a blow-up pitcher, but he just hasn't been this year. He hasn't been stellar, and he's not going to go get you 20, 25, 30 points. But like you said, you can put him in there. Probably go with Corbin. You're hoping Corbin does a 30 to 40 point game, and you're basically looking at Andrew Cashner kind of like a outfielder at that price.
Sure, if he can get me 15 points, that's a score, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if he only gets you 9 or 10, it's not the end of the world.
Still let me tell you, I got Patrick Corbin set up in my first lineup and Cashner as my second pitcher, and it leaves $4,187 per player for all my position players, and that's freaking fantastic.
Yeah, the thing is now you have to hit on those players. That's your caveat. You can stack the best offenses in the world, like for example, yesterday Milwaukee 85 degrees in Atlanta. Fulton Evans, who's been pitching terrible, give me this second at bat. Yelich goes ahead and hits a home run. You're like, here we go. And he gives up like one more home run and was, for all intents and purposes, really good. So, you've got to connect on the other guys. That's
sure.
The big thing.
But like you said, the majority of those Yankee bats are high strikeout guys. So, Cashner could go out and pitch 6 innings. They could get a win. They don't have the best pitcher coming back at him. Happ has been fallible, right? And if he gets 6 strikeouts, 6 innings, and a win, I mean, that's almost a 20-point score right there, as long as he doesn't give up more than 2 or 3 runs.
Yeah, so you hope that the runs he gives up are going to be solo shots. I think Gary Sanchez hits a home run today. I can almost guarantee Hicks, Voit, or Sanchez will hit a home run. One of those 3 guys. Mm-hmm. And if you want a 100% guarantee, throw Morales. Somebody will hit a home run. Will it be off of Cashner? I don't know.
Right, maybe not.
Exactly. But he has, let's see, he's limited hard contact to lefties, so I'm not so much worried about that. His hard contact's higher to righties, but it's not huge. His fly ball percentage is pretty low to righties, but man, he is giving up power. So when it gets up in the air, it's pretty much gone, especially.
And that's
been
Cashner's MO pretty much his whole career. Is he's fairly consistent, but when he gives up a big hit, it usually goes out of the park.
Well, look, so last year, if you look at his numbers for last year, he had a 5.52 xFIP, 230 ISO to lefties, 179 to righties. His ground ball percentage was 37 and 44. His hard hit was 33 and 32. Now, if we take a look at this year, and he's had some tough matchups, so I don't think it's matchup dependent, but he's down to 4.63. Not good, but for 5,600, sure. 0.056 ISO to lefties, 245 to righties, 54 and 54% ground ball. So, I know he eliminated one of his pitch. I think it was the sinker, which a lot of pitchers are getting away from, given that the launch angle revolution and the way the guys are approaching at bats and their swings and, what just happens to those pitches that kind of sink down into the zone and then launch up over the fences. Other guys that have done that, I believe, have been like Wade Miley. So these guys become more better real life pitchers, guys that can be at the bottom of the rotation and extend some of their careers, not necessarily guys that we're going to always go after in in DFS, but certainly, I don't think that the perception of that has changed too much. So there's going to be